I told you everything you know about human creation is a lie? According to 5,000-year-old Sumerian tablets, we weren't created by God. We were engineered by advanced aliens called the Anunnaki. These gods from planet Nibiru combined their DNA with primitive hominids to create the first humans. Not as divine beings, but as slaves, and the proof is hidden in plain sight. In ancient texts, modern scholars refuse to acknowledge. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this truth has been buried and what it means for humanity's future. The Sumerian creation epic, etched onto ancient tablets, tells a riveting tale of how humanity came to be. In the Lost Book of Enki, though written in an archaic language, this primordial story springs to life through vivid imagery that fires the imagination. Picture an advanced race of beings, the Anunnaki, descending from the heavens to engineer the first humans. Using remarkable biotechnology, they combine their divine essence with the genetic material of indigenous hominids, thus creating modern Homo sapiens. In the Lost Book of Enki, the Anunnaki are described as towering figures that strode the earth like giants, instilling knowledge and culture into their newly birthed creation. Though fragmented by the passage of millennia, this ancient account offers astounding parallels to modern science. Today, we wield CRISPR tools to tinker with life, but millennia ago, an extraterrestrial race may have catalyzed our existence through genetic engineering. By hybridizing their genes with those of earthly primates, perhaps these gods upgraded the human operating system into one capable of civilization. While more research is needed to fully decipher this cryptic tale, it underscores humanity's eternal fascination with where we come from. Were we molded simply from primordial muck, or did a grander design shape the trajectory of our species? Either way, the Sumerian tablets offer an enthralling window into our possible origins, one that continues to capture human imagination. We may never fully confirm the science behind this Genesis story, but its value lies in the questions it raises about intelligent design in our universe. While Zecharia Sitchin did a splendid translation of the tablet of the Lost Book of Enki, some important words were missed. Perhaps historians and scientists would take the book seriously and make another attempt at translating the tablet, especially now that we have reached the age where we humans can accomplish similar feats in the laboratory. I have decided to publish the text as is, so I don't sully the beauty of the immaculate writings. The great flood that wiped out man from the face of the earth devastated the Sumerian god Enki, the creator of Adam and Eve. He was against the decree made by the Council of Anunnaki gods to destroy man, but was powerless to stop it. On the 7th year after the flood, we called his prophet to write the Book of Witnessing, the true accounts of the events that led to the flood, to be unsealed at an appropriate time, so man's descendants may know the truth. The entire translation of Lost Book of Enki. Now come, write it on a sealed tablet as a book, engrave it. Let it be a witnessing until the last day, a testimony for all time. Isaiah 38. The following is an account of how the prophet Isaiah, originally Endubsar in Sumerian, was called on by Enki, firstborn of Anu, the supreme king of the Anunnaki, to write his book. The words of Endubsar, master scribe, son of Eridu city, servant of the Lord Enki, great god. In the 7th year after the great calamity, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day, I was summoned by my master, the Lord Enki, great god, benevolent fashioner of mankind, omnipotent and merciful. I was among the remnants of Eridu, who had escaped to the arid steppe just as the evil wind was nearing the city, and I wandered off into the wilderness to seek withered twigs for firewood. And I looked up, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the south. There was a reddish brilliance about it, and it made no sound. And as it reached the ground, 4 straight feet spread out from its belly, and the brilliance disappeared. And I threw myself to the ground and prostrated myself, for I knew that it was a divine vision. And when I lifted my eyes, there were 2 divine emissaries standing near me, and they had the faces of men, and their garments were sparkling like burnished brass. And they called me by name and spoke to me, saying, "You are summoned by the great god, the Lord Enki. Fear not, for you are blessed, and we are here to take you aloft and carry you unto his retreat in the land of Magan, on the island amidst the river of Magan, where the sluices are." And as they spoke, the whirlwind lifted itself as a fiery chariot and was gone, and they took me by my hands, each one grasping me by one hand. and they lifted me and carried me swiftly between the earth and the heavens, as the eagle soars. And I could see the land and the waters and the plains and the mountains, and they let me down on the island at the gateway of the great God's abode. And the moment they let go of my hands, a brilliance as I had never seen before engulfed and overwhelmed me, and I collapsed on the ground as though voided of the spirit of life. My life senses returned to me, as if awakened from the deepest sleep by the sound of the calling of my name. I was in some kind of an enclosure. It was dark, but there was also an aura. Then my name was called again by the deepest of voices, and although I could hear it, I could not tell whence the voice came, nor could I see whoever it was that spoke, and I said, "Here I am." Then the voice said to me, "Endubsar, offspring of Adapa, I have chosen you to be my scribe, that you write down my words on the tablets." And all at once there appeared a glowing in one part of the enclosure, and I saw a place arranged like a scribal workplace, a scribe's table and a scribe's stool, and there were finely shaped stones upon the table. But I saw no clay tablets nor containers of wet clay, and there lay upon the table only one stylus, and it glistened in the glowing as no reed stylus ever did. And the voice spoke up again, saying, "Endubsar, son of Eridu city, my faithful servant, I am your lord Enki. I have summoned you to write down my words, for I am much distraught by what has befallen mankind by the great calamity. It is my wish to record the true course of the events, to let gods and men alike know that my hands are clean. Not since the great deluge had such a calamity befallen the earth and the gods and the earthlings. But the great deluge was destined to happen, not so the great calamity. This one, 7 years ago, need not have happened. It could have been prevented, and I, Enki, did all I could to prevent it. Alas, I failed. And was it fate or was it destiny? In the future shall it be judged, for at the end of days, a day of judgment there shall be. On that day the earth shall quake and the rivers shall change course, and there shall be darkness at noon, and a fire in the heavens in the night. The day of the returning celestial God will it be. And who shall survive and who would perish? Who shall be rewarded and who will be punished? Gods and men alike. On that day shall it be discovered. For what shall come to pass by what had passed shall be determined, and what was destined shall in a cycle be repeated, and what was fated, and only by the heart's will occurring for good or ill, shall for judgment come. The voice fell silent. Then the great Lord spoke up again, saying, "It is for this reason that I will tell the true account of the beginnings and of the prior times and of the olden times, for in the past the future lies hidden. For 40 days and 40 nights shall I speak, and you will write. 40 shall be the count of the days and the nights of your task here. For 40 is my sacred number among the gods. For 40 days and 40 nights you shall neither eat nor drink. Only this once of bread and water you shall partake, and it shall sustain you for the duration of your task." And the voice paused, and all at once there appeared a glowing in another part of the enclosure. And I saw a table, and upon it a plate and a cup, and I rose up thereto, and there was bread on the plate and water in the cup. And the voice of the great Lord Enki spoke up again, saying, "Endubsar, eat the bread and drink the water, and be sustained for 40 days and 40 nights." And I did as directed. And thereafter the voice directed me to sit myself at the scribal table, and the glowing there intensified. I could see neither door nor aperture where I was, yet the glowing was as strong as the midday sun. And the voice said, "Endubsar the scribe, what do you see?" And I looked and saw the glowing raid upon the table and the stones and the stylus, and I said, "I see stone tablets, and their hue is blue as pure as the sky. And I see a stylus as I have never seen before, its stem unlike any reed and its tip shaped like an eagle's talon." And the voice said, "These are the tablets upon which you shall inscribe my words. By my wish they have been cut of the finest lapis lazuli, each with 2 smooth faces provided. And the stylus you see is a god's handiwork, its handle made of electrum, and its tip of divine crystal. It shall firmly fit in your hand, and what you shall engrave with it shall be as easy as marking upon wet clay. In 2 columns you shall inscribe the front face. In 2 columns you shall inscribe the back of each stone tablet. Do not deviate from my words and utterances." And there was a pausing, and I touched one of the stones, and the surface thereof felt like a smooth skin, soft to the touch. And I picked up the holy stylus, and it felt like a feather in my hand. And then the great god Enki began to speak, and one began to write down his words, exactly as he had spoken them. At times his voice was strong, at times almost a whisper. At times there was joy or pride in his voice, at times pain or agony. And as one tablet was inscribed on all its faces, I took another to continue. And when the final words were spoken, the great god paused, and I could hear a great sigh. And he said, "Endubsar, my servant, for 40 days and 40 nights you have faithfully recorded my words. Your task here is completed. Now take hold of another tablet, and on it you shall write your own attestation, and at the end thereof, as a witness, mark it with your seal, and take the tablet and put it together with the other tablets in the divine chest. For at a designated time chosen ones shall come hither, and they shall find the chest and the tablets, and they shall learn all that I have dictated to you, and that true account of the beginnings and the prior times, and the olden times and the great calamity shall henceforth be known as the words of the Lord Enki, and it shall be a book of witnessing of the past, and a book of foretelling the future. For the future in the past lies, and the first things shall also be the last things." And there was a pause, and I took the tablets and put them one by one in their correct order in the chest. And the chest was made of acacia wood, and it was inlaid with gold on the outside. And the voice of my Lord said, "Now close the chest cover and fasten its lock," and I did as directed. And there was another pause, and my Lord Enki said, "And as for you, Endubsar, with a great God you have spoken, and though you have not seen me, in my presence you have been. Therefore you are blessed, and my spokesman to the people you shall be. You shall admonish them to be righteous, for in that lies a good and long life. And you shall comfort them, for in 70 years the cities will be rebuilt, and the crops shall sprout again. There will be peace, but there will also be wars. New nations will become mighty, kingdoms shall rise and fall. The olden gods shall step aside, and new gods shall decree the fates. But at the end of days destiny shall prevail, and of that future it is foretold in my words about the past. Of all that Endubsar, to the people you shall tell." And there was a pause and a silence. And I, Endubsar, bowed to the ground and said, "But how will I know what to say?" And the voice of the Lord Enki said, "The signs will be in the heavens, and the words to utter shall come to you in dreams and in visions. And after you there will be other chosen prophets. And in the end there will be a new earth and a new heaven, and for prophets there will be no more need." And then there was silence, and the auras were extinguished, and the spirit left me. And when I regained my senses, I was in the fields outside Eridu. Seal of Endubsar, Master Scribe. The Anunnaki workers, after toiling the gold mines in Africa, ABZU, for thousands of years, started a bloodless rebellion. Their request, freedom from mines. After several deliberations among the Anunnaki leaders, a decision was reached to create a primitive worker out of the humanoid species found in the wild to replace the Anunnaki laborers. The task to create primitive man was entrusted to Enki, the eldest son of Anu, the supreme leader of the Anunnaki. To assist him will be his, Enki's sister, Ninmah, the skilled one. As you will see, despite their technologically advanced culture, the process of creating man was full of mistakes, failures, and heartbreaks. But learning from their failures, they finally succeeded. The creation of man as per the Lost Book of Enki. In the House of Life in the ABZU, how to fashion the being Enki to Ninmah was explaining. To a place among the trees Ninmah he directed, a place of cages it was. In the cages there were odd creatures, their likes in the wild no one had seen. Foreparts of one kind they had, hind parts of another creature they possessed. Creatures of two kinds by their essences combined to Ninmah Enki was showing. To the House of Life they returned, to a clean place with brightness shining they led her. In the clean place Ningishzida to Ninmah, the life essence secrets was explaining. How the essence from two kinds combined can be, he to her was showing. The creatures in the tree cages are too odd, monstrous they are, Ninmah was saying. Indeed so, Enki responded. To attain perfection, for that you are needed. How the essences to combine, how much of this, how much of that to put together. In which womb conception to begin, in which womb should the birth be given. For that, your succor and healing understanding are needed. The understanding of one who gave birth, who a mother is required. A smile on the face of Ninmah was, the two daughters that by Enki she mothered, she well remembered. With Ningishzida, she surveyed the sacred formulas that on Emmys were secreted. How this and that were done of him, she inquired. The creatures in the tree cages she examined, the two-legged creatures she contemplated. By a male inseminating a female are the essences transmitted. The two entwined strands separate and combine an offspring to fashion. Let a male Anunnaki a two-legged female impregnate, let a combination offspring be born. Thus did Ninmah say, that we have tried. With failures it resulted. To her, Enki responded, there was no conceiving, there was no birth. Now this is the account of how the primitive worker was created, how Enki and Ninmah with Ningishzida assisting the being fashioned. Another way the admixture of essences to attain must be tried, Ninmah was saying. How the two strands of essences to combine another way must be found. That which from the earth is the portion must not be harmed. To receive our essence in graduations, it must be shaped. From the ME formulas of Nibiru's essence, only bit by bit could be attempted. In a crystal vessel, Ninmah an admixture was preparing, the oval of a female two-legged she gently placed. With me Anunnaki seed containing, she the oval impregnated. That oval back into the womb of the two-legged female she inserted. This time there was conceiving, a birth was indeed forthcoming. The allotted time for birth-giving the leaders awaited. With anxious hearts they results were seeking. The allotted time arrived, there was no birth-giving. In desperation Ninmah a cutting made. That which was conceived with tongs she drew out. A living being it was. With glee Enki shouted, we attained. Ningishzida with joy cried out. In her hands Ninmah the newborn held, with joy she was not filled. Shaggy with hair all over was the newborn, his foreparts like of the earth creatures were. His hindparts to those of the Anunnaki more akin they were. They let the two-legged female the newborn nurse, with her milk him to suckle. Fast was the newborn growing, what on Nibiru a day was, a month in the ABZU was. Taller the earth child grew, in the image of the Anunnaki he was not. His hands for tools were not suited, his speech only grunting sounds was. We must try once more, Ninmah was saying. The admixture needs adjusting. Let me the ME's assay, with this or that ME make the endeavor. With Enki and Ningishzida assisting, they repeated the procedures. The essences in the ME's Ninmah carefully considered. One bit she took from one bit she took out from another. Then, in the crystal bowl, the oval of an earth female she inseminated. There was conception. At the appropriate time, there was birth-giving. This one more in the likeness of the Anunnaki was. They let his birth mother him suckle. They let the newborn to a child grow. Appealing he was by his looks, his hands to hold tools were shapen. His senses they tested, they found they're deficient. The earth child could not hear, his eyesight was faltered. Again and again Ninmah rearranged the admixtures. Of the ME formulas she took bits and pieces. One being had paralyzed feet, another his semen was dripping. One had trembling hands, a malfunctioning liver had another. One had hands too short to reach the mouth. One had lungs for breathing unsuited. Enki by the results was disappointed. A primitive worker is not attained. To Ninmah he was saying, what is good or is bad in this being by trials I am discovering. Ninmah to Enki responded, to continue for success my heart prompts me. Once more an admixture she made. Once more the newborn was deficient. Perchance the shortfall is not in the admixture, Enki to her was saying. Perchance neither in the female's oval nor in the essences is the hindrance. Of what the earth itself is fashioned, perchance that is what is missing. Not of Nibiru's crystals use the vessel, of the clay of earth make it. So was Enki, with great wisdom possessed, to Ninmah saying, perchance what is earth's own admixture of gold and copper is required. Thus was Enki, he who knows things, prompting her to use clay of the ABZU. In the house of life, Ninmah made a vessel, of the ABZU's clay she made it. As a purifying bath, she shaped the vessel, within it to make the admixture. Gently into the clay vessel, the oval of an earth female, the two-legged, she put. The life essence from an Anunnaki's blood extracted she in the vessel placed. By the ME formulas was the essence directed, bit by correct bit was it in the vessel added. Then the oval thus fertilized into the womb of the earth female she inserted. There is conception, Ninmah with joy announced. The allotted birth-giving time they awaited. At the allotted time, the earth female began to travail. A child, a newborn, was forthcoming. With her hands, Ninmah the newborn extracted. A male it was. In her hands, she held the child. His image she examined. It was the image of perfection. In her hands, she held up the newborn. Enki and Ningishzida were present. With joyful laughter, the three leaders were seized. Enki and Ninmah were backslapping. Ninmah Enki embraced and kissed. "Your hands have made it," Enki, with a gleaming eye to her, was saying. They let the birth-giving mother the newborn suckle. Quicker than a child on Nibiru grows, he was growing. From month to month, the newborn progressed, from a baby to a child he was becoming. His limbs for the tasks were suited. Speech he knew not. Of speaking, he had no understanding. Grunts and snorts were his utterings. Enki the matter was pondering. What was done each step and admixture he considered. Of all that we had tried and changed, one thing was never altered. To Ninmah he was saying, "Into the womb of the earth female the fertilized oval was always inserted. Perchance this is the remaining obstruction," thus was Enki saying. Ninmah at Enki gazed. With bewilderment she him beheld. "What in truth are you saying?" Of him she an answer required. "Of the birth-giving womb am I speaking," to her Enki was responding. "Of who the fertilized oval nurtures, to birth-giving carries. In our image and after our likeness to be, perchance an Anunnaki womb is required." In the house of life there was silence. Words never before heard Enki was uttering. They gazed at each other, about what in each other's mind they were thinking. "Wise are your words, my brother," Ninmah at long last was saying. "Perchance the right admixture in the wrong womb was inserted. Now where is the female among the Anunnaki her womb to offer? Perchance the perfect primitive worker to create, perchance a monster in her belly to carry?" So was Ninmah with a trembling voice saying, "Let me of Ninki, my spouse, of that inquire," Enki was saying. "Let us her to the house of life summon, the matter before her lay out." He was turning to depart, when Ninmah put her hand on his shoulder. "No, no," to Enki she was saying. "The admixtures by me were made. Reward and endangerment should be mine. I shall be the one the Anunnaki womb to provide, for good or evil fate to face." Enki bowed his head. Gently he embraced her. "So be it," to her he said. In the clay vessel the admixture they made. The oval of an earth female with Anunnaki male essence they put together. The fertilized egg into the womb of Ninmah by Enki was inserted. There was conception. The pregnancy by an admixture conceived. How long will it last? To each other they wondered. Will it be 9 months of Nibiru? Will it be 9 months of Earth? Longer than on Earth, quicker than on Nibiru, travail came. To a male child, Ninmah birth was giving. Enki the boy child held in his hands. The image of perfection he was. He slapped the newborn on his hindparts. The newborn uttered proper sounds. He handed the newborn to Ninmah. She held him up in her hands. "My hands have made it," victoriously she shouted. Now this is the account of how Adamu by name was called, and how Tiamat as a counterpart female for him was fashioned. The newborn's visage and limbs the leaders carefully examined. Of good shape were his ears, his eyes were not clogged. His limbs were proper, hind parts like legs, foreparts like hands were shaped. Shaggy like the wild ones he was not, dark black his head hair was. Smooth was his skin, smooth as the Anunnaki skin it was. Like dark red blood was its color, like the clay of the ABZU was its hue. They looked at his malehood. Odd was its shape, by a skin was its forepart surrounded. Unlike that of Anunnaki malehood it was, a skin from its forepart was hanging. Let the earthling from us Anunnaki by this foreskin be distinguished, so was Enki saying. The newborn to cry was beginning. To her chest Ninmah closely drew him. Her breast to him she gave, the breast he began to suckle. Perfection we did attain, Ninmah with elation was saying. Enki at his sister was gazing, a mother and son, not Ninmah and a being he was seeing. "A name will you give him?" Enki inquired. "A being he is, not a creature." Ninmah cast her hand upon the newborn's body. With her fingers his dark red skin she caressed. "Adamu I shall call him," Ninmah was saying. "One who like earth's clay is, that will be his name." For the newborn Adamu a crib they fashioned. In a corner of the house of life they placed him. "A model for primitive workers we have indeed attained," Enki was saying. "Now a host of workers like him are needed," Ninmah his elders reminded. "A model indeed he shall be. As for himself, like a firstling, he shall be treated. From toil he himself shall be protected, his essence alone as a mold shall be." So was Enki saying. By his decree Ninmah was greatly pleased. "Whose wombs henceforth the fertilized ovals shall carry?" Ninmah was asking. The leaders the matter pondered. Ninmah a solution offered. From her city Shurubak Ninmah female healers summoned. The task required to them she explained. To the crib of Adamu she led them, the newborn earthling to perceive. To perform the task is not a commandment. Ninmah to them was saying, "Your own wish is the decision." Of the female Anunnaki assembled, 7 stepped forward, 7 the task accepted. "Let their names for all time be remembered," Ninmah to Enki was saying. Their task is heroic. By them a race of primitive workers shall come into being. The 7 stepped forward, each one her name was announcing. The names Ningishzida recorded. Ninmah, Shuziana, Ninmada, Ninbara, Ninmug, Musardu, and Ninguna. These were the names of the 7 who by their own wish birth mothers were to be. Earthlings in their wombs to conceive and bear, primitive workers to create. In 7 vessels of the clay of the ABZU made, Ninmah ovals of the 2-legged females placed. The life essence of Adamu she extracted, bit by bit in the vessels she had inserted. Then in the male part of Adamu an incision she made, a drop of blood to let out. Let this a sign of life be, that flesh and soul have combined, let it forever proclaim. She squeezed the male part for blood, 1 drop of blood in each vessel to the admixture she added. In this clay's admixture, earthling with the Anunnaki shall be bound. Thus was Ninmah saying, an incantation she was pronouncing. To a unity shall the 2 essences, one of heaven, one of earth, together be brought. That which is of earth and that which is from Nibiru, by a blood kinship shall be bonded. So was Ninmah pronouncing. Her words, Ningishzida, also recorded. In the wombs of the birth-giving heroines, the fertilized ovals were inserted. There was conception. With anticipation was the allotted time counted. At the allotted time, birth-givings were occurring. At the allotted time, 7 male earthlings were born. Their features were proper. Good sounds they were uttering. By the heroines, they were suckled. 7 primitive workers have been created, Ningishzida was saying. Let the procedure be repeated, 7 more the toil to undertake. My son, to him Enki was saving. Not even 7 by 7 sufficient shall be. Of heroine healers too much is required. Forever their task this way shall be. Indeed the task is too demanding. Glow beyond enduring it is, Ninmah to their said. Female ones we have to fashion, Enki was saying, for males' counterparts to be. Let them know each other, as one flesh the 2 to become. Let them by themselves procreate, on their own the childbirthing make. To primitive workers by themselves give birth, Anunnaki females to relieve. The ME formulas you must change, from male to female adjustment make. So did Enki to Ningishzida say, for a counterpart to Adamu to be fashioned, in the womb of an Anunnaki female conception is needed. So did Ningishzida to his father Enki in responding say. Enki at Ninmah his gaze directed. Before she could speak, he raised his hand. Let me this time Ninki my spouse summon. With strong voice he said, if she is willing, let her the mold for the female earthling create. They to the ABZU, to the house of life, Ninki summoned. They showed her Adamu, all that matters to her they explained. Of the task that is required they gave explanations. Of success and danger to her an account gave. By the task Ninki was fascinated. Let it be done, she to them said. By the ME formulas Ningishzida adjusting made, by the admixture was an oval fertilized. Into the womb of his spouse Enki it inserted. With much care he did it. There was conception. In the allotted time Ninki was in travail. A birth there was not. Ninki the months counted, Ninmah the months counted. The 10th month, a month of evil fates, they began to call. Ninmah, the lady whose hand wombs has opened, with a cutter and incision made. Her head was covered, on her hands protection she wore. With dexterity the opening she made, her face at once was brightened. That which in the womb was from the womb came forth. A female birth was given. To Ninki with joy she shouted. The newborn's visage and limbs they carefully examined. Of good shape were her ears, her eyes were not clogged. Her limbs were proper, hind parts like legs, foreparts like hands were shaped. Shaggy she was not, like beach sands was the hue of her head hair. Her skin smooth was, as that of the Anunnaki in smoothness and color it was. Ninmah, the girl child held in her hands. She slapped her hind parts. Proper sounds the newborn uttered. To Ninki, the spouse of Enki, she the newborn handed, to be suckled, nourished, and raised. A name will you give her? Enki of his spouse inquired. A being she is, not a creature. In your image she is, and after your likeness. Perfectly she is fashioned, a model for female workers you have attained. Ninki cast her hand upon the newborn's body. With her fingers, her skin she caressed. Tiamat let her name be the mother of life, Ninki was saying. Like the planet of old, of which the earth and the moon were fashioned, let her be called. From her womb's life essences, other birth givers shall be molded. To a multitude of primitive workers she thereby life will be giving. Thus was Ninki saying, the others' words of concurring uttered. Now this is the account of Adamu and Tiamat in the Eden, and how they knowing of procreation were given, and to the ABZU expelled, after Tiamat in the womb of Ninki was fashioned. In 7 vessels of the clay of the ABZU made Ninmah ovals of the 2-legged females placed. The life essence of Tiamat she extracted, bit by bit in the vessels she had inserted. In the vessels of the clay of the ABZU made, Ninmah the admixture formed. Incantations as the procedure befits she was uttering. In the wombs of the birth-giving heroines the fertilized ovals were inserted. There was conception, at the allotted time birth-giving were occurring. At the allotted time 7 female earthlings were born. Their features were proper, good sounds they were uttering. Thus were 7 female counterparts for the primitive workers created. 7 male and 7 female did the 4 leaders create them. After the earthlings were thus created, let the males the females inseminate, let the primitive workers by themselves offspring beget. So was Enki to the others saying, after the allotted time, offspring's other offspring will beget. Plentiful will be the primitive workers' numbers, the toil of the Anunnaki they shall hear. Enki and Ninki, Ninmah and Ningishzida were joyful, the fruit's elixir they were drinking. For the semen and 7 cages they made, among the trees they placed them. Let them together grow up, malehoods and femalehoods attain. Let the males the females insemiante, let them by themselves offspring beget. So were they to each other saying. As for Adamu and Tiamat, from the toil of the excavations they shall be protected. Let us them to the Eden being over, to the Anunnaki therein our handiwork display. So was Enki to the others saying, with that the others did concur. To Eridu, in the Eden the city of Enki, Adamu and Tiamat were taken. An abode in an enclosure for them was built, to roam therein they could. The Anunnaki of the Eden came to see them, from the landing place they came. Enlil came to see them, by the sight his displeasure was diminished. Ninurta came to see them, Ninlil did as well. From the way station on Lahmu Marduk the son of Enki also came down to see. It was a sight most astounding, a wonder of wonders it was to behold. Your hands have made it, the Anunnaki to the fashioners were saying. The Agigi who between earth and Lamu shuttled were also all agog. Primitive workers have been fashioned, our days of toil to end, so were they, all saying. In the ABZU the newborns were growing, for their maturing the Anunnaki were anticipating. Enki was the supervisor, Ninmah and Ningishzida also came. In the excavations the Anunnaki were grumbling, patience to impatience gave way. Inugi, their overseer of Enki was often inquiring, for primitive workers the outcry he conveyed. The circuits of earth grew in number, maturity of the earthlings was overdue. No conceiving among the females was observed, there was no birth-giving. By the cages among the trees Ningishzida a couch of grass for himself made. Day and night the earthlings he was watching, their doings to ascertain. Indeed he saw them mating, the males the females were inseminating. Conceiving there was not, birth-giving there was not. Enki the matter deeply pondered, the creatures once combined he contemplated. None, not one of them, had offspring begotten. By 2 kinds combined, a curse has been created, Enki to the others said. Let us the essences of Adamu and Tiamat afresh examine, Ningishzida was saying. Their emis bit by bit to be studied, what is wrong to ascertain. In Shurubak, in the house of healing, the essences of Adamu and Tiamat were contemplated. With the life essence of Anunnaki males and females, they were compared. Like 2 entwined serpents, Ningishzida the essences separated. Arranged like 22 branches on a tree of life were the essences. Their bits were comparable, the images and likenesses they properly determined. 22 they were in number, the ability to procreate they did not include. Another 2 bits of the essence in the Anunnaki present Ningishzida to the others showed, 1 male, 1 female. Without them there was no procreating, so was he to them explaining. In the molds of Adamu and Tiamat, in the combining, they were not included. Ninmah heard this and was distraught. With frustration was Enki seized. The clamor in the ABZU is great, mutiny is again in the making, so was Enki to them saying. Primitive workers must be procured lest the gold extracting shall be ceasing. Ningishzida in these matters learned a solution was proposing. To his elders, Enki and Ninmah, in the house of healing he whispered. They all the heroines who Ninmah were assisting sent away. They locked the door behind them, the 3 with the 2 earthlings alone remaining. Upon the 4 others, Ningishzida a deep sleep caused to descend. The 4 he made unfeeling. From the rib of Enki the life essence he extracted. Into the rib of Adamu, the life essence of Enki he inserted. From the rib of Ninmah, the life essence he extracted. Into the rib of Tiamat, the life essence he inserted. Where the incisions were made, the flesh thereon he closed up. Then the four of them by Ningishzida were awakened. It is done, he proudly declared. To their tree of life, 2 branches have been added. With procreating power, their life essences are now entwined. Let them freely roam, as one flesh let thorn knots each other, Ninmah was saying. In the Eden's orchards, to freely roam Adamu and Tiamat were placed. Of their nakedness they became aware. Of malehood and femalehood they were knowing. Tiamat of leaves aprons made, from the wild beasts to be distinguished. In the heat of the day, Enlil in the orchard was strolling, the shade he was enjoying. Without expectation, Adamu and Tiamat he encountered, the aprons on their loins he noticed. What is the meaning of this? Enlil wondered. Enki, for explaining, he summoned. The matter of procreation Enki to Enlil explained. The 7 and 7 had failed, to Enlil he admitted. Ningishzida, the life essence, examined an additional combining was needed. Great was Enlil's anger, furious his words were. The whole thing was not to my liking, for acting as creators I had opposed. The being that we need, it already exists. So were you, Enki saying. All we need is put our mark on it, thereby primitive workers to fashion. Healing heroines themselves put at risk, Ninmah and Ninki were endangered. To no avail it was all, your handiwork was a failure. Now the last bits of our life essence to these creatures you have given, to be like us in procreation knowing, perchance our life cycles on them to bestow. Thus did Enlil with angry words speak. Enki Ninmah and Ningishzida summoned, with words Enlil to pacify. My lord Enlil, Ningishzida was saying, knowing for procreation they were given. The branch of long living to their essence tree was not. Ninmah then spoke up. To her brother Enlil she was saying, what was the choice, my brother? To end it all in failure, Nibiru in doom to face its fate, or to try, and by procreation let earthlings the toil undertake. Then let them be where they are needed, Enlil with anger said. To the ABZU, away from the Eden, let them be expelled. Conclusion, the Sumerian Genesis, a cosmic blueprint for humanity. The Lost Book of Enki, as transcribed from ancient Sumerian tablets, presents a narrative so profound that it challenges the very foundations of human origin. Far from a simple myth, it reads like a scientific logbook, detailing genetic experiments, failed prototypes, and the eventual creation of Adamu, Adam, and Tiamat, Eve, as the first successful hybrids of Anunnaki and primitive hominids. The Anunnaki, genetic engineers of antiquity. According to the text, the Anunnaki, advanced beings from Nibiru, came to Earth in search of gold to save their dying planet. After thousands of years of labor, their workers rebelled, forcing the Anunnaki to seek an alternative, a slave race. Enki, the scientist, Ninmah, the geneticist, and Ningishzida, the biotech expert, spearheaded the project. Early attempts resulted in monstrous hybrids, beings with mismatched limbs, defective organs, and no speech. Finally, using clay, earthly DNA, and Anunnaki essence, they created Adamu, the first perfect prototype. Tiamat was later engineered from Ninki's, Enki's wife, womb, making her the first genetically designed female. The forbidden knowledge, a twist in the tale. Despite their success, the new humans could not reproduce. Enki's son, Ningishzida, discovered a critical flaw. Their DNA lacked the branches for procreation. In a clandestine procedure, Enki and Ninmah donated their own life essence, DNA, to Adamu and Tiamat. This granted them knowing, consciousness, and reproductive ability. When Enlil, Enki's brother and chief administrator, discovered this, he raged, fearing humans would become too like the gods. Expulsion from the Eden, a familiar story? The parallels to biblical Genesis are striking. Adamu and Tiamat became aware of their nakedness, a metaphor for newfound consciousness. Enlil, like the biblical god, banished them from the Eden, to prevent them from gaining further knowledge. Were the aprons of leaves an early symbol of civilization, separating humans from beasts? Scientific echoes in ancient texts. Modern science reveals unsettling overlaps. CRISPR gene editing mirrors the Anunnaki's clay and essence method. The missing procreation genes align with theories of human evolutionary gaps. The tree of life, DNA helix, was modified to give humans self-awareness. The big questions: were the Anunnaki our creators? Why does Sumerian lore match modern genetic science? The step-by-step lab-like process described is eerily precise for an ancient text. Did the Anunnaki leave behind a witnessing for future humans? Enki's command to write it on a sealed tablet suggests intentional preservation. Are we still under their influence? Some theorists argue elite bloodlines, hybrid descendants, still rule today. Final verdict: myth or hidden history? While mainstream academia dismisses the Lost Book of Enki as myth, its technical specificity and uncanny alignment with genetics demand reconsideration. If even 10% of this account is true, humanity's origin story must be rewritten. Perhaps, as Zecharia Sitchin proposed, we are not just products of random evolution, but the deliberate design of an advanced extraterrestrial race. What do you think? Divine myth or encrypted history? Share your thoughts below. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. I love hearing from you. Check out more videos on the screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.